Alright, let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between. I'm Daniel, or Daniel, and I'm creating this video series to document and encourage my own practice, as well as some form of illustration or inspiration, if I'm lucky, for anyone who comes along after. Let's see, the basics. I am trans, male to female, in the process of transitioning. I'm 2 months in, and as you can tell, I still have a long way to go. Hormones will take care of the curves, laser and electro will take care of this, whole facial hair thing. But the final key component in terms of just day-to-day is the voice. Now, unfortunately, there's just not some magic pill or procedure that just can make that quick or easy. Most other things with transition, it's just a matter of time, money, pain, etc. But the voice is something that just requires a lot of practice and work. This is something I have to get right, and there's no shortcut except pure hard work and practice. I'll be doing my best to follow the methodology as explained in Candy FLA's channel. She's a real inspiration to me, and I hope to be as successful as her someday. These videos will mostly be recordings of me practicing. For detailed explanation of the techniques, feel free to check out her excellent videos. So, I'm terrible at ad-libbing, so I want to read something as I practice. So I looked around for something to read, and I think I found something interesting. I plan to read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Why The Art of War? Simple. It's an ancient book. That means I don't have to worry about copyright. Also, I hope it will be funny in some weird way, hearing about military strategy described in my wonderful falsetto voice. Anyway, that's my little introduction. There will be a series of these videos. I'm hoping to put one out every day or so, but we'll see. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. And where I'm getting this text, I'm getting this from Project Gutenberg, which is an excellent source of all sorts of books, both new and old. Sometimes very old. All right, let's get started. So, first step is to develop your falsetto voice, which I am just at that stage right now. I have done no practicing meaningful at all. I am doing this video series really as a way to force myself to practice. So if I put something out every day, that will really encourage me to set aside a certain time to do this. And, well, hopefully, if a couple months from now that I sound a lot different, well, hopefully I can not only encourage myself, but maybe someday, if I'm lucky somewhere along the line, someone will be encouraged and inspired as well, because I've definitely been inspired by a lot of gals on here. So, alright, now, this is going to be hilarious. If you like clarity, I'm going to make a fool of myself, so, you know, it is what it is. There's no easy way to do this, so I'm going to make a fool of myself in front of the world. But, anyway, let's get this cracking. Okay, so, first step, raise your voice, falsetto. Okay. Okay, I think this is it. This is the falsetto voice right here. I don't know how long I'll be able to do this, but this is going to be ridiculous. Alright. Sun Tzu on the Art of War. The oldest military treatise in the world, translated from the Chinese with and critical notes. By Lionel Giles, M.A., Assistant in the Department of Oriental Printed Books and M.S. in the British Museum. First published in 1910. Dedication to my brother, Captain Valentine Giles, Archie, in the hopes that a work 2,400 years old may yet contain lessons worth consideration. For the soldier of today, this translation is affectionately dedicated. Lionel Gates began his translation of Sun Tzu's Art of War was virtually unknown in Europe. Its introduction to Europe began in 1782 when a French Jesuit father living in China, Joseph Amiel, acquired a copy of it and translated it into French. It was not a good translation because, according to Dr. Giles, it contains a great deal that Sun Tzu did not write, and very little indeed of what he did. The first translation in English was published in 1905 in Tokyo by Captain E. F. Hathor, RFA. However, this translation is, in the words of Dr. Giles, exceedingly bad, or excessively bad. He goes further to his criticism is not merely a question of downright blunders from which none can hope to
wholly exempt, omissions were frequent, hard passages were willingly distorted or slurred over. Such offences are less pardonable. They would not be tolerated in any edition of Latin or Greek classic. And a similar standard for honesty ought to be insisted upon in translations from Chinese. In 1908, the new edition of Captain Calthrop's translation was published in London. It was an improvement on the first, omissions filled up and numerous mistakes corrected. The new errors were created in the process. Dr. Giles, in justifying his translation, wrote, "It's not out of any inflated estimate of my own powers. I could not help feeling that some deserved good faith that had befallen him, and I knew that at any rate I could hardly fail to improve on the work of my predecessors. Clearly, Dr. Giles' work established much of the groundwork for the work of later translators who published their own editions. Of later editions of The Art of War I have examined, two feature Dr. Giles' edited translations and notes. The other two present the same basic information from the ancient Chinese commenters found in Giles' edition. Of the four, Giles' 1910 edition is the most scholarly and presents the reader with an incredible amount of information concerning Sun Tzu's text, much more than any other translation. The Giles edition of The Art of War, as stated above, was a scholarly work. Dr. Giles was a leading sinologue. It's a sinologue. Alright, I should look that up. Dr. Giles was a leading sinologue at the time, an assistant in the Department of Oriental Printed Books and Manuscripts in the British Museum. Apparently, he wanted to produce a definitive edition superior to anything that existed, and perhaps something time and an assistant in the Department of Oriental Printed Books and Manuscripts in the British Museum. I got that. Oh, crap. Apparently, he wanted to produce a definitive edition superior to anything that existed, and perhaps something that would become a standard translation. It was the best translation available for 50 years, but apparently there was not much interest in Sun Tzu in English-speaking countries since it took the start of the Second World War to renew interest in the book. Several people published unsatisfactory English translations of Sun Tzu. In 1944, Dr. Giles' translation was edited and published in the United States in a series of military science books, but it wasn't until 1963 that a good English translation by Samuel B. Griffith and still in print was published that was an equal to Giles' translation. While this is translation more lucid than Dr. Giles' translation, it lacks his copious notes that make him so interesting. Dr. Giles produced work primarily intended for scholars of the Chinese civilization and language. It contains the Chinese text of Sun Tzu, the English translation, and voluminous notes with numerous footnotes. Unfortunately, some of his notes and footnotes contain Chinese characters, some are completely Chinese. Thus, a conversion to a Latin alphabet e-text was difficult. I did the conversion in complete ignorance of Chinese, except what I learned while doing the conversion. Thus, I faced the difficult task of paraphrasing it retaining as much of the important text as I could. Every paraphrase represents a loss, thus I did what I could to retain as much of the text as possible. Because the 1910 text contains a Chinese concordance, I was able to transliterate proper names, books, and the like, at the risk of making the text more obscure. However, the text, on the whole, was quite satisfactory for the casual reader. The transformation made possible by conversion to an e-text. However, I came away from this task with a feeling of loss because I know that someone with a background in Chinese can do a better job than I. Any such attempt would be welcome. That is the prefix by the Project Gutenberg associate, worker, who translated this from book form to e-text by the name of Bob Sutton. This was back in 1994 when this text was done. All right. Let's get a bit into the text. After that, my voice is getting hoarse, so I'm not going to be able to do this for very long. Introduction. Sun Tzu and his book. Sima Qian. Oh, I'm going to completely butcher these names, so pardon that. I am not an expert in any kind of Chinese. I just know how to speak. I'm fine. Whatever. Okay. Sima Qian gives the following biography of Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu was a native of the Qi state. His art of war brought him to the notice of Ho Lu, king of Wu. Ho Lu said to him, "I have carefully perused your 13 chapters, and submit your theory of managing soldiers to a slight test." Sun Tzu replied, "You may." Ho Lu asked, "May the test be applied to women?" The answer was again in the affirmative. So arrangements were made to bring 180 ladies out of the palace. Sun Tzu divided them into 2 companies and placed one of the king's favorite concubines at the head of each. He then bade them all take spears in their hands and dress them thus. I presume you know the difference between front and back, right and left? The girls replied, yes. Sun Tzu went on. When I say eyes front, you must look straight ahead. When I say eyes left, when I say eyes front, you must look straight ahead. When I say left turn, you must face towards your left hand. When I say right turn, you must face towards your right hand. When I say about turn, you must face right round towards your back. Again the girls assented. The words of command having thus been explained, he set up the halberds and battle axes in order to begin the drill. Then, to the sound of drums, he gave the order right turn, but the girls only burst out laughing. Sun Tzu said, if words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, then the general is to blame. So he started drilling them again, and this time gave the order left turn. Or again, the girls once more burst into fits of laughter. Sun Tzu, if words of command are not clear and distinct, if orders are not thoroughly understood, the general is to blame. But if his orders are clear and distinct, the soldiers nevertheless disobey, and it is the fault of the officers. So saying, he ordered the leaders of the 2 companies to be beheaded. Now the king of Wu was watching the scene from the top of a raised pavilion, and we saw that his favorite concubines were about to be executed. He was greatly alarmed, and hurriedly sent down the following message. We are now quite satisfied as to our general's ability to handle troops. If we are bereft of these 2 concubines, meat and drink will lose their savor. It is not our wish that they shall not be beheaded. Sun Tzu replied, having once received His Majesty's commission to be general of his forces, there are certain commands of His Majesty which, acting in my capacity, I am unable to accept. Accordingly, he had the 2 leaders beheaded, and straightway installed the pair next in order his leaders in their place. When this had been done, the drum was sounded for the drill once more, and the girls went through all evolutions, turning to the right or to the left, marching ahead or wheeling back, kneeling or standing, with perfect accuracy and precision, not venturing to utter a sound. Then Sun Tzu sent a messenger to the king, saying, your soldiers, sire, are now properly drilled and disciplined, and ready for your Majesty's inspection. They can be put to any use that their sire may desire. Bid them to go through fire and water, and they will not disobey. But the king replied, let our general cease drilling and return to camp. As for us, we have no wish to come down and inspect the troops. Thereupon Sun Tzu said, the king is only fond of words and cannot translate them into deeds. After that, Wu saw that Sun Tzu was one who knew how to handle an army, and finally appointed him general. In the west, he defeated the Chu state and forced his way into the capital. To the north, he put fear into the states of Shi, Ji, and Qin, and spread his fame amongst the feudal princes, and Sun Tzu shared in the might of the king.
Whew. Okay. Well, that is what we're in store for. So we're getting toward the end of the video length limit, and my voice is it's hard for me to do. Over time, I will develop this a bit further, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever watched this, but it is what it is. So, thank you all, and this is the first video on June 19th, 2011, of my first practice of the female voice. Alright, thank you.